I reached out to a friend of mine a while back and I asked her, hey, can you come? We got this election coming up and I've been in DC a lot, so I missed a lot of the stuff that was happening in Texas politics. And I know they just throwing our money away. Can you help me come and talk about where they're throwing our money away to? So that we can try to thwart it as much as we can. So I've got two friends that I brought. One that I brought a couple years ago and she shared. And we're all going to collaborate tonight and help you. And they're going to help me help you. Is that all right? So I want you to put your hands together right now and give a warm New Beginnings welcome to Aaron Anderson and Sheila Davidson. Aaron's with Texas Scorecard and Sheila is with the Convention of States. Come on up, ladies. If we need to move a pillow or something for you, we can. My ladies over here laughing at all the pillows and pillow decoration.
Can't have too many pillows.
You know, women like a lot of pillows, so we had to make sure we had a bunch of pillows for the ladies. So, thank you guys. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Patrick. I'm Moses. Sheila, so how many of you know have ever heard of Article 5 Convention of States? Okay, so not a lot of people. So I'm gonna have Sheila.
We'll see you after this.
I'm gonna have Sheila give a quick synopsis of what that constitutional amendment deal looks like, and then I'm gonna have Aaron give a synopsis of what the Texas constitutional amendments that are on the ballot looks like, and what that. We'll start with Sheila.
Okay, for the United States Constitution, Article 5 gives you two ways to amend the Constitution. That historically we've done that using the first way, that is to go through Congress, but the second way is going through the states. And so that's what we're trying to do, is to get 34 states to sign the Article 5 statement so that we can call that Convention of States, come together, propose amendments, and then bring them back to the states where we can get 38 states to agree to it, and then our Constitution would be amended. And so it's keeping it at the state levels as opposed to at a federal level.
Awesome. And just hold the mic a little bit closer next time. Aaron.
So you wanted to explain the
Just
process,
explain the process for Texas.
For amending the Texas Constitution. This happens first in the state legislature. Our lawmakers need to pass by 2/3 majority, not just a simple majority, things that will go on the election ballot to all of us statewide. This legislative session, our lawmakers chose 17 items that will be on our November ballot for us to vote on, and if they get a simple majority vote of the people, then they become part of our state constitution.
And so I'm normally down in Austin following this stuff really closely. I have a 40-page document here from Texas Public Policy Foundation that they put together. It's very detailed. I didn't print them out for all of you guys because that's a lot of stuff. And I know most of you don't want to know all the minute details, but I'm a nerd, so I like details.
So Pastor Toy, can we say one thing?
Yes.
That just to kind of follow on what you're talking about, I think it's important while you're looking at these amendments is to understand the state budget.
Yes.
And talk a little bit about that, that over the past 4 years, it has increased 42.8%. So our spending in this state, in our opinion, is out of control.
Yes.
And so now put that lens whenever you're looking at these amendments. Excuse me. When you're looking at these amendments, kind of keep that in mind as well and look at them through that lens.
That's good. Because, and that's key, because for the most part, we don't realize, we think it's just all the federal spending. Federal spending is a big issue because that's what you hear about. But there's a lot of unnecessary spending that also happens at the state and the local level. I mean, it's astronomical. For instance, the first Proposition 1, which is SRJ 59, it's designed to provide funds for the Texas State Technical College infrastructure and workforce education. So I know you guys are like, what in the world does that even mean? So I got to put my eyes on. Y'all know how. The younger I get, the more I need these things. So the summary here is that this amendment would create 2 dedicated state funds to support infrastructure, land acquisition, and equipment for the Texas State Technical College system, seeded with an initial $850 million from the Texas General Revenue. These funds would operate outside the normal state budget and outside normal state legislative oversight. Anybody see a problem with that? So here, the rationale that's noted here is, while expanding access to workforce education, it supports individual liberty and personal responsibility. Embedding this preferential funding mechanism in the Constitution undermines limited government and transparency. A statutory approach with normal budget oversight would better uphold fiscal accountability. What are your thoughts on that? I'll start with Aaron.
Well, I think there were some key phrases there. Number one, spending and outside regular appropriations. So our lawmakers meet every couple of years, people that we elect, and they vote on a whole lot of spending. But once they embed it into the state constitution, there's no more voting each year, each session on whether or not it's a good idea. So it becomes an automatic cash machine to whatever this project happens to be. Even if we think it's a worthwhile project, automating basically our money, when they say general funds, we're the general in that general funds. So automating payments to projects is never, in my opinion, and I guess in the opinion of Texas Scorecard, which is very citizen-focused and focused on responsible spending, this is not considered a great idea. And I will say, for Texas Scorecard, if you're not familiar with texasscorecard.com, rather than trying to take notes and write all this down, we have published a roundup of recommendations on all 17 of these items, starting with this one, number 1. And we have 3 different fiscally conservative organizations that have given their recommendations. Now, all 3 of those organizations said they're a no on this one. And just for your future reference, the one word I want you to remember is roundup. So when you get home, before you go to the polls, sometime in between those things, go to texasscorecard.com, search for the word roundup, and you will come up with this article that has these 3 groups' recommendations. It also links to this this report that Troy is reading from that has a lot of details on all 17 amendments. So check those out.
Yes. Sheila.
And so what I was curious about just at the very beginning is, why did they pick this college? And so it's like, there's a lot of colleges and universities in Texas, so what was so special about this one? And so I found out that Texas State Technical College is actually not part of the Community College Fund. It's a separate state agency serving students on 10 campuses. And currently they don't have any ability to collect taxes, unlike the 2-year institutions. And so they're at a disadvantage compared to the other ones. What they do is they get money from the state based on a value-added system or outcome-based system. So it's their graduates, the graduation rate, and then what their salaries are after they graduate, which is a fantastic measure. But what they don't have in place is what we were talking about, the infrastructure to build new campuses and to refresh the campuses. And so it seems like there was either an omission on this, or either the legislatures were expecting you and I to approve these types of funds. Right. So just giving you a little background on why this specific university. Anytime you see something specific, you should always look into why that.
Yes. And it ends up being, it looks decent on the surface, but it's always the underlying things that you have to watch for. The number one thing that caught me in reading it, I just kept reading it over and over again, because I couldn't believe that they actually put the language in here that said no oversight. So that's how dumb they think we are, is that we can't comprehend that we're going to give them $850 million from the state fund, and nobody's going to monitor where that money goes. I mean, anybody here want to give somebody $850 million? I don't know anybody in here that wants to give somebody $20 and not know where it goes. Proposition number 2 is, put these eyes on, banning taxes on the realized or unrealized capital gains of an individual, family, estate, or trust. Sounds good. Here, summary, this amendment would permanently prohibit the Texas legislature from imposing any tax on capital gains, whether realized or unrealized. Texas currently does not have such a tax, so the measure functions as a safeguard to preserve the state's existing low tax structure. The rationale is that this measure upholds individual liberty, private property rights, and free enterprise by protecting Texans from future financial intrusion and double taxation. It strengthens Texas's commitment to limited government and long-term economic competitiveness.
So this is one of the proposals that acts as sort of a preventive measure. You know, it's not happening now. We don't think it's going to, but it's sort of a just in case. And I will say all 3 organizations that we surveyed were a yes on this one, because we were always yes to no new taxes.
Sheila.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to add, but just whenever you see the word prohibit, and so that's something that they're enshrining in the Constitution as, I call them, a blocking mechanism to prevent future legislatures from doing something differently. And I think there's 3 of them in the 17 this time that say the word prohibit. And so just be sensitive to that.
All right, number 3, denying bail under certain circumstances to persons accused of certain offenses punishable as a felony. Interesting that all these certain, nobody knows what the certain is. So the summary, this amendment would authorize judges to deny bail to individuals charged with a list of serious felonies such as murder, aggravated assault, and human trafficking, if the state proves by clear and convincing evidence that that release would endanger the public or risk flight. It embeds mandatory bail denial for certain charges into the state constitution with limited discretion for judges. The rationale for this is, while aimed at improving public safety, this amendment undermines individuals' liberty by expanding detention without conviction and curtails judicial discretion. It creates a rigid, constitutionally enshrined mandate that risks overreach, erodes due process, and expands the scope of government authority without adequate safeguards.
Well, the 3 organizations that we surveyed, mixed results. It was a yes, a no, and a neutral. So this one is interesting. Obviously, the reason that it has come up is because we have seen so many judges going too far one direction of letting basically known murderers out on the street with 0 bail, and they've actually recommitted crimes in these instances. So the question is this going back too far the other way by making this mandatory? And the 9 felonies they can include murder, there's some child sex crimes, which I have to say, part of me wants to say, let's not let these people out again. But so the question has to be for each of you: is this going too far the other way, or is this a balance that we need compared to what we're having right now?
Yeah, I agree with all that. And then the notes that I had seen when I read up on it is note that these are pretrial cases, and so defendants are presumed innocent until proven guilty. And also, it seems like there's overly prescriptive rules that are going to be limiting judges. Yes. And it just seems like we're oppressing a judge's job whenever he's supposed to be deciding what to do as far as bail goes. So this one just seems a little too far, in my opinion.
And I'll just add, a constitutional amendment is much stronger than just legislation. If we had legislation addressing this and it could be, adjusted each legislative session to kind of react to how it's going, that's very different than, sort of, like you said, locking it into the Constitution. So sort of micromanaging a judge in the Constitution might be a bit of overreach, even as much as we don't want people who we think are going to commit more murders out on the street. So it's a real balance here.
Right. And it's all predicated upon how you want to do it. I think it's something that the legislators should have done and taken it upon themselves to have the discussion. But I get what they're trying to pass the buck, so when something goes wrong, they can say, well, it's the voters, they voted for that. But they can't vote for it you can't vote for it if they don't bring it before you to vote for. But they will, in turn, the moment it doesn't do what they sent it out to do, they'll blame you for supporting it. That's what they do. Right. So now there's SRJ 7, which is Proposition 4, dedicating a portion of state sales tax and use tax revenues to the Texas Water Fund and to provide for the allocation and use of that revenue. Isn't that kind of vague? So this amendment would divert up to $1 billion per year in existing sales tax revenue into a new Texas Water Fund to support water infrastructure projects. The funding would occur automatically each year, bypassing the normal legislative appropriations process, and would continue until 2035 unless extended by the legislature. I don't know about you, Aaron, but that sounds like a slush fund.
It sure does. And there we see that automatic expenditure rather than each session that we review and adjust. Y'all, there's no secret that water's a big problem around this state. And a lot of people are going to say, yes, we need more water. Let's vote yes here. But automating a certain amount is never necessarily the best way to go. And I will just say the 3 organizations we surveyed all were a no on this one.
Yeah, with respect to this one, going into a little bit of a level of detail, that every 5 years there is a Texas water plan that is released. The last one that was released was in 2022. And if you look at that, we're way, way off track. So we're unfortunately behind the power curve right now. If you look at the Texas 2036 data, Texas must invest at least $153.8 billion over the next 50 years. $59 billion in new water supplies, $73.7 billion in fixing deteriorating water systems, and $21.1 billion in fixing broken wastewater systems. And so we have a significant budget shortfall or funding shortfall already. And so that's just more information to take into consideration. It's just like every time I see the fund word, it's to what we've already talked about. It's a hard no. But it's just like, I think it also behooves everybody just to understand the water situation in Texas is pretty behind the curve. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done, period. And whatever we don't put into these constitutional amendments is going to ripple over into the local and the regional water facilities having to take those burdens on. So it starts to get passed down to local levels. And so you just have to weigh all of these different things when you're looking at this particular amendment, because it's one of the bigger ones.
And this is another one of these that I talk about that sounds good on the surface because it draws you in, because you hear about water shortages and you hear about all these water issues, and you're like, well, I don't mind yielding $1 billion toward it. But if you already have a budget shortfall from your previous budget, that means you have misappropriated the previous funds that we've given you for this. So why would we allocate another $1 billion a year for 20 years or 10 years? That's $10 billion extra on top of your already shortfall to give you more of a shortfall. And I don't know about you, but I didn't read anything in there about any oversight on that one either. So There's $10 billion that's going to somebody's personal checking account. She said it's not mine. Okay, Proposition 5, exempting from ad valorem taxation of tangible personal property consisting of animal feed held by the owner of the property for sale at retail. So that is number 5. So this amendment would give the Texas legislature the authority to exempt animal feed held for retail sale from local property taxes. It does not require the exemption, but permits future legislation to implement it, potentially correcting a tax inconsistency within the agricultural supply chain.
Well, the 3 organizations we talked to support this, and you'll notice a difference here. It's not a mandate. It allows the legislature to consider this. So I'm okay with opening something for the legislature to consider.
Right.
Yeah, I looked at this as another niche. I think it was an amendment either the last time or 2 times ago, was exempting medical equipment inventory. Then it was aircraft parts inventory. So it seems like whoever is the loudest lobbyist, we get one of these types of amendments. So just take that into consideration.
I need that lobbying job. Lobbyists make a lot of money, just in case you guys didn't know. I know some of our kids are thinking about being attorneys and doctors and stuff, but if you want to make the real money, be a lobbyist. No. So number 6, prohibits the legislature from imposing an occupation tax on certain entities, there's that word again, that enter into transactions conveying securities or imposing a tax on certain securities transactions.
Well, now here's what y'all may not be aware of, but Texas just opened its own stock exchange.
Yes.
So this is tied to the idea that we're going to have this increase in people working the stock exchange and the securities market. All 3 organizations that we talked to support this because, frankly, we don't like any occupation taxes. So we're fine with this one. But just the reason it's come up out of the blue on securities is that we're hopefully going to have a burgeoning stock exchange here in Texas.
Yes.
Nothing new to add to that. It's an exciting time.
Yes, it is. Okay, number 7, is it? Yes. Let's see where am I? Yes. Number 7, providing for an exemption from ad valorem taxation of all or part of the market value of the resident's homestead of the surviving spouse of a veteran who died as a result of a condition or disease that is presumed to have been service-connected.
That's okay. Yeah, to this one, it's another one of those, what I call is a compassion tax exemption. It's just like, when did you stop kicking your dog? And so it's a matter of, like we were talking about earlier, that when you get an exemption for one group, then it spreads the load across the rest of the other individuals.
Right.
And we have had past veteran exemptions, 2 in 2013, 1 in 2015, and 1 in 2017. So voters are very compassionate towards anyone service-connected.
And this one ties into a change in federal law as far as surviving spouses of veterans. So that's a little tweak to what we do already in this situation that is going to basically align with some federal legislation. And there's a split on this one in our group simply because of the fact of the carve-outs for one group does increase the burden on other groups. But people are mainly pretty open to supporting our veterans.
Good. And so Proposition 8 bans state estate, inheritance, and gift or death taxes. It's basically intergenerational wealth versus revenue trade-offs.
This is another one of those preventive measures. It's not happening now. We don't have a death tax. We don't have an income tax. We don't have these things. But it's just to make sure kind of thing, put it in the Constitution, make it much harder to impose. And our three groups, of course, support it because, again, a tax, no thank you. And a tax on death, double no thank you. So you can support this one, but don't be afraid that if it doesn't pass, that suddenly there's a death tax. That's not what's happening.
Right.
Yeah, I had just added note that this type of prohibit of the death taxes protects family farms and small businesses, because those are usually the ones that will get wiped out as a result of that.
That's good. Proposition number 9, exempting from ad valorem taxation a portion of the market value of tangible personal property a person owns that is held or used for the production of income.
In case you don't know, ad valorem means property tax. That's
Yes.
their fancy word for it. So they are exempting some personal property from taxation for people that are, small business owners producing an income. So it's considered kind of an economic incentive for small businesses. All three groups we talked to support it.
Yes.
And that just since they did not put the dollar amounts in the actual wording, just for you guys to know that it's currently it's $2,500, and this moves it to $125,000. So it's kind of moving that smaller business more into a moderate leveled size business.
Good. Which should inspire some of you to want to start a business. Home-based business at that. All right. So proposition number 9 lets the legislature exempt a portion of. That's the one I just did. Number 10, temporary homestead tax exemption for homes destroyed by fire. And so the C10 here. Okay. So this amendment would give the legislature authority to provide a temporary property tax exemption for homesteads that are entirely destroyed by fire. The exemption would apply only to the value of the destroyed structure, not the land, and would be implemented through future legislation.
Yeah, believe it or not, people whose homes are destroyed by fire or by other disasters still receive property tax bills for the full value of when the home was standing, which is rather shocking. So all three groups we talked to support this. Obviously, if your home's been devastated, you shouldn't be taxed on a home that no longer exists. I think that's pretty,
Right.
It's just the way the law is structured now does not allow them to do this. So this seems pretty fair.
Yeah, a couple of things that I noticed is why just fire? And so if my house is destroyed by a tornado, or if
Yeah.
my house is destroyed by a flood, why is this just fire? And so that was the first question that I had. And I have experience, or I know somebody that had a significant flood in their house, and they went to the tax appraisal district and said, here's what it's going to cost to rebuild my house, and they lowered the value of the house. So I don't know why we have to put something like this into the Constitution. I think homeowners should be able to work directly with the appraisal district, assuming you have a reasonable appraisal district. That may be
Right.
part of the problem.
Yeah, because if you're in Harris County, you probably don't have a chance. Or Travis. So all of that makes a huge difference. So here we are at 11. So increasing the amount of the exemption from ad valorem taxation by a school district of the market value of the residence homestead of a person who is elderly or disabled. For me, I don't think that the school district need to have an increase for anything right now. I think they need to start educating our kids instead of indoctrinating them. And so I don't want to give them 20 cents more until they start teaching the stuff that they need to teach, instead of teaching our kids that they can be the opposite sex. Sheila.
Yeah, to me, this is another one of the compassion taxes, and since they did not put the dollar value in there, just for you guys, that the exemption would move from $10,000 to $60,000.
That's crazy.
So the groups we spoke to actually, two oppose and one is neutral. And this again goes back to the idea that a carve out for one group simply raises the amount of taxation to all the other groups. So that's something to consider. And it is just for school district taxes, which does take by far the largest percentage of our property taxes.
Yes. Proposition 12, relating to the authority of the State Commission on Judicial Conduct, the tribunal and the Texas Supreme Court to more effectively sanction judges and justices for judicial misconduct.
The good news on this one, y'all, is it doesn't cost us any money. We're not spending money on this one. It's a procedural reorganization of the judiciary system, which again has had issues. So they're trying to adjust how they deal with judges who are not doing right. And I believe what part of this is to have more citizen involvement on these oversight groups and not just judges. Some people say, well, only judges can know how to discipline other judges, whereas normal people are like, we can see when something is right or wrong. So that's part of this process, is getting a little more citizen involvement in this accountability for judges.
Okay, I did a lot of homework on this one because I didn't understand it at all. And so just to give you guys some insight, the State Commission on Judicial Conduct is an independent agency responsible for investigating allegations of judicial misconduct. There's 13 members, 6 are judges and justices, 2 members come from the State Bar, and there are currently 5 citizens. They're appointed by the Supreme Court, the State Bar, or the governor. And so this will be an important part to remember. What this proposition is going to do is remove the 2 members from the State Bar and instead give the governor authority to appoint 2 additional citizen members. And so what that means is you're going to have now 7 citizens and 6 judges and justices. So you have the majority in the citizens. And so remember that citizens are appointed by the governor. So if the governor was a different governor, would you vote for this or not? And so you just need to take those into considerations, because right now depending on which side of the aisle you're on, could be favorable. And if it were a different governor, then I would be voting completely differently.
Well, Sheila, you're at New Beginnings. We're all on the right side.
Well, and yet
I should have known better than that.
I will just add, the State Bar is not necessarily an organization I trust to make the best picks either.
No, not at all.
Oh, and I forgot to also mention this, that it also changes the Judicial Review Tribunal, that it was 7 members that were drawn by lot. Now it's going to be 7 members appointed by the governor. And so it just continues to increase the governor's
you're
reach.
increasing the governor's, and we just finished talking about executive overreach not too long ago from the governor and also from the federal level. And so you don't want you don't want to put too much power or too much control in any one person's hands. Although with this governor, if it does pass, I'm probably going to vote no on this one. But if it does pass, I'm going to call the governor and say, put me on there.
There you go. Yeah. Well said.
I know that's probably not the right way to look at it, but that's how I look at it.
You want good people. If they're going to be picking people, you want them to pick your people.
Yes. Proposition 13, raising the exemption of residents' homesteads from ad valorem taxation by a school district from $100,000 to $140,000. That is totally ridiculous. This amendment would raise the school district property tax exemption, reducing taxable home values and offering tax relief to homeowners. The state would reimburse school districts for the resulting loss in revenue, which means they're still getting their money. They're still getting it from you. The state you're giving it to the state, and the state is giving it back to them. That's just crazy to me.
Now, while this is not a very effective way to reduce people's property tax bills in the long run, because how many people's appraised values went up? I know plenty of people, there's one school district, how much their appraised values went up on average? $40,000. So with this passing, it's still just breaking even, right?
Yeah.
And yet, it's still less than it would be without this. So the groups we talk to support it simply because it is, at least for the next couple of tax cycles, it will reduce tax bills until the appraised values catch up. And it's for everyone, so it's not one group getting a carve out over another group.
Yeah, this one is, we need to be on the road towards property tax elimination. And we've had 4 homestead tax exemptions since 2015, and for a total of $125,000. So they just keep throwing these exemptions at us as opposed to fixing the long term.
Right, putting specific numbers in the Constitution is a very unwieldy way to go. Unfortunately, once it's in our state constitution, the only way to change it is with another amendment, and that's what's been happening. We've been chasing these values session after session and having to put it in our constitution. I mean, there should be a better way. Elimination sounds pretty convenient to me.
Right. So this one is another one of those, 14 is another one of those that pulls at your heartstrings. Creating the Dementia Prevention and Research Institute of Texas, establishing the Dementia Prevention and Research Fund to provide money for research on and prevention and treatment of dementia, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, and related disorders in this state. So this amendment would create a new state-run medical research institute and permanently dedicate $3 billion from the General Revenue Fund, plus up to $3 million annually for research and infrastructure related to dementia and neurodegenerative diseases. The fund would exist outside of the state's regular spending cap.
There we go again. Provide money, that's your money, and $3 billion is a lot. Now, y'all may recall we did this with cancer research some years ago. I guess longer than maybe I need that dementia research because I can't remember exactly when, but it's been a long time.
2007.
But what you may recall, this passed through another constitutional amendment, and what's the first thing that happened? A huge corruption scandal that the grants were being handed out and misappropriated. So there was a huge financial scandal going on there. So as much as you might think, oh, money should be spent on this, the money doesn't always even go to the organization that it's designated for because it's a big magnet for corruption.
Yeah, and I believe this came from Lieutenant Governor Patrick. It's his number 5 priority. It's not mine.
Yeah.
And so dementia, my family's significantly impacted by dementia, but this is a hard no. It's just like we should be deciding individually where we want to contribute monies to research. We should not be having the state taking our dollars and sending it where Dan Patrick wants it to go.
Again, that automatic slush fund,
yes,
that we've already seen how this works in action with a very similar program, and it wasn't pretty.
Number 15, now this one is just, you shouldn't even have to have this thing on there at all. Parents are the primary decision makers for their children. Anybody in here that's a parent that don't know you're the primary decision maker for your child? Raise your hand so I can pour some oil on you. That's just, why does that have to be a constitutional amendment? So it says this amendment would enshrine in the Texas Constitution the inherent right of parents to care for and make decisions about their children's upbringing. It would restrict state or local government interference unless justified by a compelling government interest using the least restrictive means.
Well, you ask why this should even be a constitutional amendment, and in fact, this is why some groups are opposed to this. They say if we try to put some specific wording into the Constitution for something that's already, a God-given inalienable right.
Right.
We're just opening up the door to interpreting these words and sort of conceding that the government gets to decide these things. It's kind of like the same argument with the Bill of Rights and the Second Amendment. The argument was, if we write it down like it's real specific, then we're kind of asking for trouble. We don't need to write it down because it's understood. But the flip side of that is like, is it understood? Is
That's
this
true.
what's happening? Or do we need to put it in black and white so that this gets respected? It's
That's true.
not that it's giving us some new parental right. It's
Just
putting it in
affirming
black
it.
and white to ensuring that that's protected. So,
How about we affirm what a woman is?
well, I think there was legislation on that, right? I don't think it made it to the Constitution this time, but I think there was legislation addressing that issue.
Yeah, to me, these are just indicators of how far we've slid
Right.
as a society goes. And it's sad that we actually have to put a blocking amendment in our Constitution to protect ourselves.
Right. Proposition 16, voters must be United States citizens. I think I got a bunch of people voting yes on that one.
As well, they should. And again, this is a bit of a preventive. It's in our statute right now that you have to be a U.S. citizen to vote. But because we have seen other states and localities pass laws that allow non-citizens to participate in local elections, this is a preventive for a time, like you said, if there were a completely different group of lawmakers that started to think that was a good idea, because we have seen it happen. This makes it a more hard and fast rule because it's in our Constitution and not a statute that's easily changed.
That's good. Say no brainer on that one. Number 17, we got through all of them. Can you believe it? Providing an exemption from ad valorem taxation of the amount of the market value of real property located in a country that borders the United Mexican States that arises from the installation or construction on the property of border security infrastructure and related improvements. So this amendment would allow the legislature to exempt from property taxation any increase in value to land in Texas border counties that results from the addition of border security infrastructure. It is a narrowly tailored measure meant to avoid penalizing landowners for voluntarily security-related improvements. So this Proposition 17 respects private property rights, individual liberty, and limited government by preventing tax penalties for landowners who choose to invest in border security. While exemptions should be used sparingly, this one is well targeted and permissive, offering relief without expanding state programs or spending. And I can agree with this one because I have a lot of friends that own property along our border, and they have had to pay and put up their own border security because, especially under the Biden administration, it just didn't happen. And I don't know why anybody even expected it to happen. But that was the issue, Sheila.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what on earth drove this, and so your insights are good. And so I did some research, and I found an instance in Hidalgo County that was a Lance Newhouse property that their property tax in 2019 was $272K, and in 2020 it went up to $434K because of the border wall being installed on it. And so it's just like, you should be able to work this out through your appraisal districts, but apparently we have to put put a backstop in to help these people that are on the border.
And that's liberal county leadership in that area as well.
Right, exactly.
Right, and that's that trade-off. What people say they want the local control, but if the localities are not, it's when they start to go off the reservation, just like with the judges or in these other cases, people feel like they need the state to step in and set a statewide standard so that taxpayers, homeowners, whatever, in one county aren't getting a completely different experience than the ones in another county because laws are being applied differently. The three groups we talked to did support this one, so.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And so the paperwork that you got that we've been reviewing, I've got copies of it on the ministry table in the hallway for you guys. And I see a bunch of you already have already stopped by and picked it up. But there is more out there. If we run out, I can print you more. If you want the 40 pager, just email Rhonda. She said you put me on the spot again.
Or if you want to save them in some paper, again, you could go to texasscorecard.com.
Yes.
Search Roundup. You're going to get our Roundup article that has all these amendments listed and these 3 organizations' recommendations and the link to the Texas Public Policy Foundation 40-page document. I now prefer online than stacks of paper, but if you prefer paper, that's available too.
That's for us old people. And we still got time for questions. So if you have questions, can we put the rules for Q&A up on the wall, Amanda? And you would go stand over here at the mic next to Art. Is Amanda not back there? Oh, there they are. Are the rules big enough for you? Any questions? Any questions? The mic is right over here to my left, your right. Wow. I guess everybody head hurting, huh? They did a good job. Don't forget, if you have not gotten your Hebrew calendar, they're available in the bookstore now. They have come in. So those of you that have been looking for them, it is available. Paula expects to sell out tonight. Ain't that right, Paula? Thank you, Mike. Also on the 18th, we have Prayer in the City down the hall at, what's that room? New Beginning, Torah Room, whatever. Down the hall. What's that? South side of the building. You can enter there at 10 a.m. This Sunday, Pastor Larry is going to be teaching from Israel on Sukkot. So he's going to be in Israel teaching us here on Sukkot. It's going to be a great time, 10 a.m., 9 a.m. Torah study, 9 a.m. Sunday morning leadership. I'm going to get all these names after a while. As soon as I get them, then they'll change them again. Oh, and don't forget to bring your first fruit offering this Sunday for first fruits. I'm missing something. I know I'm forgetting something. Oh, yes. Thank you, Annette. Yes. Having a moment today. I don't know what's going on. I didn't drink my ginkgo today. Starting next Wednesday night, we will be going through a 6-week video series from Turning Point USA. Charlie Kirk, he and I talked about it before the assassination. And so we're going to be showing, it's called First Truth. It's going to take us a 45-minute series, take us through the first truth of the Bible. And he will have a representative, well, he won't, but his team, they will have a representative from Turning Point USA here for each of those weeks. And for those of you that are attending in person, not you guys watching online, those of you here in person, Turning Point USA will be providing pizza for each of those 6 weeks. So if you want pizza, you can't watch from home. You got to come to church for once. You can at least make it for 6 weeks of the year, 6 weeks in a row. That's all we're asking, 6 weeks consecutively. We all get up and fight through traffic to get here to serve the Lord and to fellowship together and come together in a place of community. Come on, get up off your couch and come join us. We'd love to have you in worship and prayer at 6:30 with Tracy and Rose and the team. And then we got coffee fellowship before that. Service starts at 7. Just a great time in the Lord and a great time of fellowship. I want to thank my guests, Erin Anderson from Texas Scorecard and her awesome boss, Michael Quinn Sullivan, who's a dear friend of mine, and Sheila Davidson from Convention Estates, and I'm a member of Convention Estates. I should know what she's with. and her amazing boss, who's a good friend of mine as well, Mark Meckler and his wonderful wife, Patty. Thank you guys so much. We love you guys. Father, I pray a special blessing over all of those that are watching, that came in by stream. I pray that you would just meet them at the point of their need. I pray that they would not go out empty, but they would receive that spiritual gift and spiritual empowerment, and that everyone in this room would receive that one certain spiritual thing that they're seeking from you. Receive it in their life right now by the power of Almighty God that is at work in them. We declare that over you until we see you on Sunday or next Wednesday night. God loves you, and I do too.